This is the next step in the tutorial. In the last tutorial we talked about creating the gusset and doing the increased stitches and how the gusset is in a diamond shape. And I'm currently, here, let's see, can you see that gusset, honey?
Yeah.
Okay, so I've knit the gusset all the way up to the last increase row. So it's row 8 on the gusset, and this is what it looks like here. And so it's sort of like this half diamond shape, and it's coming out of the sweater like this. This is what's going to allow the arm to move more easily, because it'll have this extra give in the underarm area. So anyways, to make a long story short, the next step is what you do is you take your gusset, your live stitches from your gusset on the last increase row, and in this pattern that happens to be on round 41. So you put your gusset stitches on live stitches onto a spare piece of thread, or if you have one of those little knit stitch holders, that's fine. I don't like those, so I just put mine on spare thread. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cast on stitches, and it becomes a bridge between the beginning and end of the gusset, and these are going to be your Steek stitches. And then once you knit up the body of the sweater, Ding knows how to do this, but just in case you haven't, I wanted to show you. You're going to need a needle that they use for seaming up the size of your garments on the selvage edges. And I just got this little packet from John James. It's called a Pebble. Has different sizes, pretty cute. Anyways, and I have this huge threader thingy, needle threader thingy. I'm trying to figure out who makes this, I can't see. So anyways, there's various ways of using it. I just put it through here, and then I put a bit of my spare yarn into here and just use it like a normal needle threader, and it goes right through. Super easy. Okay, and then the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is to use this to put the live stitches on. So you want to stop for a minute, huh? Okay, so right now we have 15 stitches in the gusset, so you want to pick those up with your needle. And I just pick them up this way, purlwise I guess. And I'll just pick up a couple at a time, and then you just pass them through onto your thread, your spare thread. It's really cool when you do this because the gusset really opens up, and you can kind of get a feel for what it's going to look like once it's off the needles, and it really starts to show up much better that way. So if you've made it this far, you should be really, really proud of yourself. Okay, we're almost here. Okay, so I've got the last one. So just be careful so your other stitches don't fall off the needle. So however you need to maneuver it. Okay, and then so I'm just going to pull this through now, through all the stitches, and take your needle out. So now I've got them all on the spare thread, and then I just basically tie it in a knot here, just secure enough so that they're not going to go anywhere. And that's all there is to it for that step. So I'm going to stop the video and get ready for the next step. Okay, so here we are again, just where we left off. And the next thing you need to do is cast on 10 stitches. So you have your choice of whatever yarn you want to work with. I'm going to pick the yarn that is the yarn that I used to make the last stitch before I started the gusset. And so basically what you do is you wrap it around your thumb like this. Lonnie, could you stop that for a sec? Sorry, we had to adjust the camera there. So you want to wrap the yarn around your finger or your thumb just like this. So you can kind of think of up and over. And then you want to put the needle into this loop and bring it off like this and pull until it's pretty snug on the needle. So that's your first one. Then we're going to do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I just wanted to say two things. It seems simple enough. The one thing you want to do is, especially when you work on your first one, you don't want too much of a gap between the first cast on stitch and the last knitted stitch. So try to get it to not be very far apart from one another. You don't want a lot of slack down there. And the second thing is, don't make these stitches too tight, because if they are, then it's a little bit difficult to knit the first round of them when we go around and start knitting across them. Okay, so now what do we do with this yarn here? Sorry, this was our second working yarn right here. So what I'm going to do is just break it off right here. Can you see in the camera? Mm-hmm. Okay, this yarn is very easy to break. And then I will weave it in later, probably in here somewhere. And then I'm going to pick it up and start working with it when we start knitting from here, which is the beginning of a new round. So I'm going to stop the video and show you how that works. Okay, so all I've done is I've moved my stitch marker to the right hand needle, and here's the gusset behind. We just did our Steek stitches, and now we're starting a new round. And so this round is round 42, and it's basically 3 blue, 3 purple, 3 blue, 3 purple, and that's basically it. So what I'm going to do is so the first color I need is this bluish purple color, and that's the one I broke off. And so I'm just going to start to use it again here on my first stitch, and I'll weave in the tail later on. And so I have to do 2 blue stitches. Actually, I can weave in the tail underneath of itself right here. So 2 blue stitches. Okay, and then I need to do 3 purple stitches. So now I can just go, once I've got that yarn re-secured on this side, I can just go back to knitting with one color in each hand. And then I do 3 purple stitches. I know it's ridiculous how close in color these two colors are. So this will just give you a chance to see what it looks like when I knit with the 2 colors this way. Now I do 3 blue, purple, I guess. So 1, 2, 3, and then 3 of these bright purple ones. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 bluish purple. And I haven't mentioned this so far, but the really cool thing about these stitch markers is, especially if you have a really long repeat row, like let's say you have a 24 stitch repeat pattern, if you don't end on the right color, you know you've done something wrong. And so instead of having to rip out an entire row after finding out you made a boo-boo when you come back on the next round, you know that you've made a boo-boo somewhere in there. And so it's just a matter of taking out the stitch repeat section rather than an entire row. So that's like the coolest thing about using stitch markers. But if you can do, if you can do the pattern repeat and you're really confident you don't need these, that's fine too. No big deal. But for me, I feel like I need them. It's like a added security blanket. And the other thing I wanted to mention, I'm just going to take this off. I've mentioned this in one of my previous videos, but I wanted to talk a little bit about how I tension the yarn.